Hello and welcome back to the channel, ladies and gents. Now, for the last few years, I've sort of prided myself in my deep knowledge of the tier 2 scene, and I like to do these videos, my ones to watch players coming into the new year of Counter-Strike. And last year I didn't do it, and I did make a list, but I never recorded this video, and I will admit a lot of it comes down to sort of sheer laziness, so apologies on that behalf. But we're back again for 2026. Welcome to NE0KAI'S tier 2 players ones to watch for 2026. Now, my definition of a ones to watch player is a little loose. I know there's sort of, I guess, regimented ways of looking at it via the way HLTV do their bold predictions. I'm not going down that route. I've sort of got my own way of justifying a ones to watch player. And the way I'm sort of looking at it is a player that's not already a certified tier 1 player or in a top level organization. So there's already a few young players who are playing in top organizations. I'm not including them in this list, or also players that probably made their big breakout last year that I would have probably included but didn't. A good name for that is Dowie from NE0KAI'S. Last year, pretty high on his stocks, and I still think he's got a really bright future, and I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't get a move at some point to a big team. But for this list, I won't be including him. So I've got a top 5 to give you, and as well some honorable mentions before we get into that list. So without further ado, let's begin. So, of course, as mentioned, to begin, I've got some honorable mentions. I've got 5 honorable mentions to bring up before I get in towards my top 5. So, essentially, you get a top 10 list here for my ones to watch. And to start, I've got none other than Flowser from NE0KAI'S. NE0KAI'S became a bit of a revelation in the late stages of 2025, and most recently beat Virtus.pro on LAN, which tanked the latter's VRS rating and led to much ridicule online. Flowers has been without a doubt the shining light of this team, with a 1.12 rating over the last 12 months, and helped NE0KAI'S go from basically a completely unknown side to a staple deep within online tier 2 tournaments. At just 18 years old, he is super fun to watch, very versatile as well with both the rifle and the AWP under his belt. At LAN, he had a 1.16 rating despite a very early exit from his team, and this side since then have been grinding online competitions. He plays a lot of high impact roles and gets some of the best spots within NE0KAI'S, which for sure can help his rating, but I honestly think it's much deserved. I think he's an incredibly solid CT player, playing a lot of A anchor positions or rotate, or on the T side, I think he's also a brilliant space creator. He's more than happy to be sent in first and die for the team if necessary, which is also super valuable. From the last 12 months of casting him, he seems like a very intellectual player, super confident in his positions and his aim, and I could see him mold into a real variety of rosters or systems if he was to get a move to a bigger team. This year's been really great for this roster, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got a move to a bigger team in the near future. And for how young and versatile he is, and of course how confident and consistent he's been of late, I think it's going to come in due time. To follow up Flowser, I've got another name here who misses out not due to ability, but actually more to the fact that I think he's already made a name for himself, but one of his teammates is also on this list. It's Jugis from Foot Esports. As mentioned, one of Jugis' teammates will be on this list a little later down the line, but honestly it kind of felt unfair not to include him, and that goes for basically the entirety of this Foot lineup, especially recently. His recent form with Foot has been incredible, but over the last 12 months, from Na'Vi Jr. to the big leagues with Foot, he's been electric. Averaging a 1.1 rating at just 16, turning 17 years old within the last 12 months, he has time and time again stepped up for this Foot side. Whilst he isn't the star on this team, he still finds so many ways to shine despite the situation, and has proven just how smart he can be at such a young age. He can often bail himself out of bad situations with raw aim alone, but has also proven just how good he can be as both an entry fragger if needed, but also in the late round, making him so valuable. Recently making a decent run into the deep stages here at stage 2 of IEM Krakow, I continue to be impressed with Jugis and this Foot lineup as a whole. One of the main reasons I don't have him in the top 5 is that I feel it's a bit unfair to say bold prediction with how high Foot have climbed to 15th in the world currently, plus how many tier 1 tournaments they are starting to play, but honestly, like I said, it felt rude not to include him. For the entirety of this Foot lineup, but Jugis specifically, the stars are the limit with these guys. Going toe-to-toe with some of the best in the world regularly and winning, or at least taking a map off them, is no easy feat, and I think many teams will start looking to poach from this team. The only thing holding them back is potentially the apparent 500k buyout for each player, but regardless, he has seriously put his name on the map, and I cannot wait to see what the future looks like for him. My third honorable mention is a man currently playing on a team called Magic, but most notably played for Xpatera. It's Tenzi. Currently playing on a team called Magic, and previously on Xpatera, Tenzi has averaged a 1.13 rating as a rifler throughout 2025. He made a bit of a name for himself on Rustic, where he won ESEA Open Season 48, qualifying themselves all the way to ESEA Advanced. Alongside this, he's starting to get a bit of a notoriety as a bit of a face-it demon. He's incredibly self-sufficient as a rifler. He was synonymous with the success of Patera throughout 2025. His mechanics are super sharp, his utility usage is excellent, and not only for himself, but also supporting his teammates too. He has his ability to shine in positions where generally many wouldn't. He made a bit of a name for himself at Landerland, where he averaged a 1.18 rating alongside fellow teammate Masval, who also went nuclear. He seems to be a very versatile rifler as well, happy to play active CT positions, but I've also seen him do anchoring depending on the map. On the T side, I find him very fun. I think he can be super aggressive when called upon, and to be honest, he's a bit of a headshot machine. Similar to Zugis, Zido is the next on my honorable mentions, who also has a teammate later on down the list. The man who's currently playing on K27 is my fourth and penultimate honorable mention. As mentioned, I will have another of Zido's teammates from K27 later on the list, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to talk about this man. Averaging a 1.13 rating across 2025, and in particular, the K27 roster ramped up towards the end of the year, looking incredibly scary in the tier 2 and 3. He has proven time and time again against a variety of rosters just how consistent and solid he is. The roster K27 were really not on my radar at all at the start of the year, but they consistently have been unbelievably good in the tier 2 and 3, and at just an average age of 19, this is ridiculous. They won 3 lands back-to-back, mainly tier 3, but it is proof in the pudding that this side have continued to climb the ranks in the VRS, hovering now around 40 to 30. His highlight reels alone are ridiculous to watch, mechanically unreal, but in such a variety of ways. He's rarely put in late round situations, but his openings into rounds are ridiculously good, and for that alone are worth a watch. I'm not sure whether this team will stick together. Either himself or Cashlid would be in prime position to get post or get a move to a bigger roster. My fifth and final honorable mention is Jaboen, the Dane who's currently playing on Big Academy. Now, I've actually known Jaboen for a while now. He was out at ISF in Yash with me back in 2023, and he was already starting to show signs of being a superstar then. He, funnily enough, was also on my team for the show match that I coached, and I could tell just how sharp he was all the way back then, but also just how nice of a guy he was. He had a great head for the game, really fun to talk to, and you could kind of tell he was in the right space to succeed. Recently, he's been playing on Big Academy, where he finished the year with a 1.13 rating. He's always been a really solid talent, and the young Dane got his first plaudits playing on Astralis talent alongside tier 2 mainstay Kia, who was known for rosters such as Tricked. Despite knowing him for a while, he only enters my list this year due to the last couple of years being pretty inconsistent and showing that some of the lows can be very low. But within the last year, and especially the last 6 months, he has really found his form and consistency. Jaboen is a very sharp AWPer, and he's shown recently just how good he can be and how solid he can when the team around him is consistent, and when he's given a lot of space to express himself. I think he's a type of AWPer who can slot into a variety of different systems, making him very versatile. One of the things I love about Jaboen is his pistols too. There's just something about AWPers being good at pistols, but every time I watch him, it becomes even clearer. I don't think Big Academy have done anything special, so to say, as a roster, but some of these performances by Jaboen are proof to me that he has what it takes to step up to the next level, and his highlight reel again speaks for itself. He's also proved himself on LAN, and now it's a bit of a waiting game to see whether he gets a move to a bigger team, or if Grix continues to have visa issues, that opportunities may arise. Now, without further ado, with introductions and honorable mentions out of the way, let's kickstart our top 5 ones to watch for 2026. And coming in at number 5, it is the 17-year-old Bulgarian Jorko. I wanted to kickstart this list with a bit of a consistent factor, a Mal's NXT graduate, and that's where we come in with Jorko. Despite Mal's NXT shrinking in notoriety since the WePlay Academy League days, they still have continued to produce really solid talent, and Jorko is another one that I've seen and been incredibly impressed by. Within the last year of Tier 2, he's been a menace with the AWP, and another entry onto this list at such a young age. I would make an argument that his skill ceiling is actually higher than some of the names above him on this list, but the only reason he comes in at number 5 is just due to a lack of consistency, and also the ever-looming question of how does he step up into a high-level team. NE0KAI averaged a 1.1 rating across 2025, but he hasn't played much as some of the names on this list already. NE0KAI started to truly make a name for himself when playing on MALS NXT, who have been an incredible mainstay and a really rich history of scouting top players and have consistently raised some of the best talent within the tier 2 and 3 scene. What makes NE0KAI special is his ability to hybrid so effectively, being primarily an incredible AWPer, but also a very solid rifler with super sharp mechanics if he's called upon. He's sort of one of those players that just passes the eye test with flying colours. His first org and HLTV official came with Quixel, who's actually owned by his dad, hence why his personal branding was so on point with his parents' support. For a player so young, it's really cool to see that level of active support by his parents. Under MALS NXT, NE0KAI was not only the AWPer, but he was also the IGL, which for such a young and inexperienced roster is no easy feat. After MALS NXT benched their lineup, assumingly due to VRS core changes, NE0KAI then stood in for Copenhagen Wolves, and I had the pleasure of casting one of his first ever games on that side where he shone immensely. Unfortunately, his first LAN opportunity with his side at Frag Blocktober didn't happen due to visa issues, which is a shame because I think it was a perfect opportunity to prove himself, and following, he also got benched. Recently he's been playing in a variety of mixes, notably Ill Will. And watching NE0KAI has been very akin to their exciting style of AWPing, very shotgunny or combat AWPing, however you want to put it. He's very flicky when he needs to be. His best tier 1 comparison is that of Monacy, basically an AWPer's AWPer, able to kind of hit seemingly impossible shots, but also so consistent with the quote-unquote easy shots. Alongside that, as should be the case for many AWPers, but especially here, his utility usage is absolutely excellent. NE0KAI is also an excellent late round player, which shows with his incredible head on his shoulders and his incredible game sense. I have an immense faith in this player that sooner rather than later, he is going to get a shot or a call up to a bigger side and really able to prove himself. Coming in at number 4, we have a youngster who's already started to make a bit of a name for himself. It is Klim, currently playing on MIBR. Now, Klim already hit the headlines last year when, seemingly out of nowhere, he joined MIBR from G2 Ares, which honestly felt like one of the roguest moves of the year. But for those of us in tune with the tier 2 and tier 3 scenes, what appeared to be a gamble to many people was actually a really cool move. Klim is mechanically incredibly sharp, and for such a young player with not loads of experience, he seems to have a very good head for the game, as do many on this list. But he's also very adaptable, using both the AWP and the rifle to a really high level. He averaged a 1.26 rating over 2025, primarily with G2 Ares, which was an interesting roster of youngsters with some potential. It's worth mentioning though that the majority of Klim's games were against very low tier opponents, hence where that pretty inflated rating comes from. But that lone stint at MIBR towards the tail end of the year proved that he was actually already ready for the big leagues. His early tenure under the Team 2 was very good, winning 3 tournaments back to back with his new roster in Brazil. Now, when it comes to international lands, it didn't exactly go to plan. The team as a whole had very poor showings at the CS Asia Championship, and MIBR also went 0-3 in Stage 2 of the Budapest Major. However, there were still flashes of brilliance from what was the team's highest rated player. And for me, Klim, it feels like the sky's the limit. Whether it's with MIBR or he gets a move to another roster, I really feel like he can shine. I mentioned earlier that one of Zido's teammates would be on this list, and coming in at number 3, it is Cashlid, currently playing on K27. To many, Cashlid could be seen as one of the more unknown names compared to others on this list. At 19 years old, he averaged a 1.18 rating in 2025 for K27. And the K27 roster find themselves ranked 35th in the world, with one of my honorable mentions, Zido, already being mentioned, and Zagev, who is kind of more affectionately now known by the scene as the Steam Authenticator code. The young AWPer has started to seriously make a name for himself in 2025, as well as the K27 roster, who became one of the most fearsome sides within Tier 2. And Cashlid specifically started to prove just that he is one of the best young AWPers in the scene right now. He's extremely flicky in his style of AWPing, with crazy mechanics, and has really shone as the star of his side. Generally speaking, he's also the rock of this team as well, with an incredibly high skill ceiling, but also a really high floor, and for how inconsistent the Tier 2 can be, that's really impressive. Cashlid is incredibly comfortable as well in more or less any scenario or situation he's put under, both when he's needed to be very flicky, but also is a very kind of turret style of AWPing, making him suitable for basically any scenario or position. I think he looks best though when he's in that shotgun combat style of AWPing, with a lot of bullshit kills, and averaging just shy of 50% of his kills with an AWP. It just shows that he's one of the few AWPers that we see these days who aren't a part-time AWPer, half-time rifler. I'd be very surprised if he isn't picked up this year, especially with the constant search for elite AWPers at the top level, but it's also really a question mark whether it would be a Russian team, or does he have the English to be able to hack it internationally? I also previously mentioned that one of Jugas' teammates would be on this list, so coming in at number 2, it is Demon from FUT Esports. Now, I must admit, I nearly omitted Demon from this list, as I feel like he's already made a bit of a name for himself and proven just how talented he can be at the top level, that it doesn't even feel really bold to predict him. But alas, I believe Demon is so good that I'm going to make an exception. For the last 12 months, he's gone from strength to strength and continues to be such a force to be reckoned with, not only within the Tier 2 online scene, but now slowly but surely in the Tier 1 scene. And I think a large part of that strength comes from NE0KAI'S, who got promoted from Na'Vi Junior to Na'Vi Senior, allowing Demon to become the star of this roster. On T sides, I think he does his best work as the second man in, where he's alarmingly composed. On the CT sides, I think he's become a ridiculously good anchor when called upon. He averaged a 1.13 rating across 2025, but he and his team took a notable step up in the quality of opponents they were facing, as they became considered one of the best teams in Tier 2. Midway through the year, after an incredible run with Na'Vi Junior, FUT Esports picked up the lineup, which currently sits at 15th in the world and are starting to feature at top events regularly. Most recently, Demon has shown his prowess at IEM Krakow, proving just how mechanically skilled he is. Na'Vi Junior lineup then turned FUT had a fantastic rivalry of who was going to be the best academy roster of Spirit Academy all the way throughout 2025. But by the end of the year, it was clear who won that race. This Na'Vi Junior core, alongside players like Krebeni, who I believe is one of the best and most underrated fragging IGLs around right now, and Jugas, who I've already mentioned is an immense talent, were untouchable in the academy space and a force to be reckoned with within Tier 2. I think it's pretty safe to say that Demon is one of the best Tier 2 players in the world right now, both on the T side and now his CT sides, which are massively starting to step up over the last 12 months. Many people see Demon as basically kind of the next beer, and I think that's a fantastic comparison, primarily because of how good his rolls are right now and how absolutely insane his headshot percentage is. Coming into 2026, he actually has a higher headshot percentage rating than Scream, sitting just around that 70% compared to Scream, who's 68.1. It's abundantly clear that FUT are going to continue climbing the ranks, and in my opinion, I think they're going to be considered a Tier 1 stalwart very, very soon. But the question is, does Demon stay in this roster, or does he get picked up by an elite roster or a bigger organization? I already believe he can comfortably slot into nearly every elite side in the world, but maybe a team like Na'Vi are regretting selling him to FUT, and especially if the rumored 500k buyout is true. Now finally, coming in at number 1 here for NE0KAI'S Tier 2 ones to watch players for 2026. I don't think it'll be a surprise to many, it is Mail09. Now, Mail received very similar treatment to that of Monacy many years ago, a young prodigy, grinding facer, achieving an abnormally high amount of elo at such a young age, making him a notable force. And because of expectations alone, I don't think anyone else can take the number 1 spot here, just because he's kind of become the forefront of the prodigy title. The big question really remains is, can he do it in a team-based environment rather than a pug? And of course, the big one, can he do it on LAN? He's already proven he's got a decent amount of team experience under orgs like Lil Mix, Godsend, Metasport briefly, and now Alliance. And currently on loan from Metasport to Alliance, the 16-year-old Swede has already proven he has the raw mechanics to hang with some of the best in Tier 2. Averaging a 1.0 rating in the last 3 months, including a 2.0 over his full-time team Metasport and a 1.11 rating across 2025. He does a lot of his best work in the star roles on CT side, and he has shown that he can hold his own when being a lurker and an entry fragger in some of the more puggy formats. At just 16 years old, his highlight reel from Face It alone is something to marvel at, and it's absolutely worth taking the time to go and view. But the real point for me, where it was clear that Mail was ready for this list, was his stand-in with Johnny Speeds. Winning a domestic LAN in Sweden in his first tournament with the team, boasting the best rating at the event with a 1.35 rating, it was clear that he is a star in the making. The last reservations now are really just about kind of where his career will pan out in the early stages. Metasport's track record isn't exactly the best when it comes to nurturing their talent, so we can only hope for the best there. Metasport have changed Mail from a star CT rifler to an anchor, and for me that was a mistake, hence why where in Alliance, I'm starting to see him shine a little bit more, and I'm kind of hoping we still see him stick in these star roles, because for me, that's where I feel like he's done his best work. And just like that, the honorable mentions list is concluded. Now, for the last few years, I've had a pretty decent success rate with predicting at least a few of these players to make a big step up into tier 1. So with this list here, I'm pretty confident at least a few of them, if not the majority of them, will make a jump up in towards a top team, top organization, or the top level in their respective rosters already. I'm excited to see what the future looks like for all of these players. Keep an eye out of them. And if you're interested in the tier 2, there's plenty more to come on this channel. But thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, all of the good stuff. And until next time, goodbye.